Hello everyone, welcome to the Daily Current Affair Analysis brought to you by Shankar IAS Academy, 30th November 2025. Before getting into the discussion, please make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you haven't, please do subscribe and also hit the bell icon to receive on-time updates from the Academy. So coming to the topics for today's discussion, the first topic is amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. So we know that it's a neurodegenerative condition that affects the muscular function in a human body. And a recent study published in the Nature Communication found that the cases are expected to increase by 69% in 2040. And the next article, World Heritage Tag. So it's a recognition provided by the UNESCO, and now the government of India is working to revive an ancient city to get the tag. And the next article, India's GDP growth. So in the second quarter of the financial year 26, witnessed a GDP growth of 8.2%. And the next article, AMR in India, that is antimicrobial resistance in India. So we know that November 18 to 24 is observed as World Antimicrobial Awareness Week. And as a part of it, the government of India launched the National Action Plan to fight the antimicrobial resistance. And in this topic, we will be discussing what is the role of community-led interventions or initiatives in the fight against the antimicrobial resistance. And finally, we will be discussing the prelims focus. If all set, let's begin the discussion with the first article. All you need to know about amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. The article is taken from The Hindu. So whenever we hear about this condition, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, the first person that comes to our mind will be Stephen Hawking. He was diagnosed with this condition in his early 20s, and doctors said that he will live only for 4 to 5 years. But this man lived for nearly 76 years and made a lot of wonders in the world of physics, and also became one of the most inspirational personalities in this world. So what is amyotrophic lateral sclerosis and why we are discussing it today? Because we can see that recently a study was published in the Nature Communication. We will discuss the study in the coming slide. So as per the study, by 2040, the cases of amyotrophic lateral sclerosis are expected to rise by 69%. So what is it? So amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, popularly known as Lou Gehrig disease. Lou Gehrig was an American baseball player, and he was diagnosed with this condition while he was in the peak of his career. And later, due to this condition, he had to retire from his baseball career. And that is why this condition is popularly known as Lou Gehrig disease. So this is a progressive neurological disease that affects the motor neurons, similar to polio. So once these motor neurons are affected, then the message from the brain will not reach the respective muscle. As a result, the muscles will become inactive and it will die soon. So this will affect the daily activities like walking, speaking, swallowing and breathing also in a person's life. And coming to the causes, so still the studies are going on. The studies are going on about the biomarkers associated with this ALS, and also the people, the scientific community, they are studying the genetics of different ethnicity to understand the reason behind the ALS. But still we can see that nearly 90 to 95% of the ALS cases are sporadic. That means the patients do not have any family history of this condition. The possible contributing factors can be lifestyle, for example, the sedentary lifestyle with limited muscular activities, occupational and environmental exposures. For example, early exposure to metals like lead can sometimes affect the neurological system of a person. And also genetic mutations can be a reason behind the development of this condition. And the people between the age group 55 to 75 are at the high risk of getting this ALS. And coming to the gender, the men are slightly at the high risk of developing this condition comparing with the women. And other factors that can contribute to this condition are high blood pressure and also the regular habit of smoking. And coming to the symptoms, so the symptoms can be classified into two: early symptoms and advanced symptoms. The early symptoms includes muscle twitchings around arms, legs, shoulders and tongue, muscle cramp, muscle stiffness or muscle tightness, weakness around limb and neck, and nasal slurred or nasal speech. For example, the people will be having difficulty in speaking, difficulty in chewing and swallowing. So these are the major symptoms, early symptoms. And the advanced symptoms are problems associated with the chewing and swallowing food. Drooling means unintentionally the saliva will be flowing from the mouth. And the next is difficulty in breathing. So the respiratory muscles will be affected because of this condition, and the people may face problem in breathing. And this breathing difficulty is one of the major reasons, or the failure of the respiratory system is one of the major reasons behind the death rate, high death rate of this ALS. And emotional outburst, constipation, severe difficulty in standing, walking, and using limbs because of the because of the inactivity of the muscles or the weak muscles, and the people may develop frontotemporal dementia. So we know that dementia is it's an umbrella term that we are using for the neurodegenerative conditions, right? So the people will will be facing problems associated with taking decisions. They may face problems like memory loss and all. So recently a study from the United States National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke found that most of the people with this condition, that is most of the people with this ALS, will die from respiratory failure within 3 to 5 years from the first day of the symptom. And 1 in 10 people will survive up to 10 years or more. One of the persons is Stephen Hawking. He lived for nearly 76 years. And what are the methods that we have to diagnose this condition? Blood and urine test, spinal tap. So we know that spinal tap is a method where we'll be taking the serum from the lower back, from the lower spine. So using this study, we can understand whether there is any issues associated with the spine. So this is commonly used to study or find infections in the spinal cord. And the nerve conduction studies to understand the ability of the nerve system in supplying the signal from the brain to the muscles. And the electromyogram will understand the capacity of the muscle. And finally, to confirm this condition, we will be going for muscle or nerve biopsies. That means we will be taking a small part of this nerve and muscle, and through that we will study and we will confirm it. And coming to the treatment, so there is no cure for this ALS, but the treatment will be focusing on slowing down the progression of this condition and improving the quality of life. So the major therapies are physical therapy to improve the mobility of the person by strengthening the muscles, occupational therapy that will help the people to remain independent, and speech therapy that includes the activities to improve the communication and strengthen the muscles around the throat and mouth. And assistive devices can be used, for example walkers, wheelchairs, and respiratory support to improve the quality of life. And coming to the estimation, so the study is known as projected increase in amyotrophic lateral sclerosis from 2015 to 2024. So this study was published in Nature Communication. So as per the study, the global burden of this condition is expected to rise. That means the cases will increase by 69% by 2040, and the biggest rise are expected in the continents like Africa. We are expecting nearly 116% rise of this condition, Asia 81%, and South America 73%. And coming to the prelims practice question, the question is, consider the following statements regarding amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. Statement 1, most ALS cases are sporadic with no family history of the disease. 2, cognitive functions are never affected in ALS patients. Which of the above statements is or are correct? Option A 1 only, option B 2 only, option C both 1 and 2, and option D neither 1 nor 2. So from our discussion, we can see that while understanding the causes, most of the cases, that is nearly 90 to 95% of the ALS cases, have no family history of this condition. So therefore, the statement 1 is correct. While the statement 2, the cognitive functions are never affected in ALS patients. No, there is a high chance of developing frontotemporal dementia. So therefore, the statement 2 is incorrect, while the statement 1 is correct. So the correct answer is option A 1 only. With this, we will move to the next article. From golf cars to 3D exhibits, how government plans to prepare Chhattisgarh's 5th century Sirpur archaeological site for UNESCO tag. The article is taken from Indian Express. So now the Archaeological Survey of India and the Sirpur Special Area Development Authority is collaborating to revive, protect, and develop an ancient city located on the bank of Mahanadi, that is Sirpur. The objective is conservation of culture, promotion of tourism, and the UNESCO World Heritage Tag. So in this background, let us discuss more about this article. So coming to the Sirpur, so here in this map you can see the location of Sirpur in the state of Chhattisgarh. So Sirpur is an ancient urban city located on the bank of Mahanadi, and the city was flourished between 5th century and 12th century CE. And initially it was a capital of old kingdom of Dakshina Koshala under different dynasties, that is Panduvamshis and later Somavamshis. So different dynasties ruled the Sirpur. And in the 12th century CE, the region, that is Sirpur and its surrounding region, experienced an earthquake, and all the monuments and everything got buried under the soil. But in 2004-5, we conducted excavations in this region, and we found 22 Shiva temples, 5 Vaishnava temples, 10 Buddhist viharas, 3 Jain viharas, and also other evidences related to market, palaces, and also water management. So this is indicating a strong religious and cultural harmony existed in this region in the ancient time. And we can see that the evidences related to market, palaces, and water management also indicates evidences related to urban planning. And coming to the architectural and archaeological significance of this region has the Sirpur has one of the oldest brick temples of India, that is the Lakshmana temple, which was constructed around the 7th century CE. And the next important temple is the Surang Tila complex. So this temple complex is dedicated to three important deities, that is Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma. And we can see that this was constructed in a Panchayatan style. So what is the significance of Panchayatan style, or the feature of Panchayatan style? Here we will be having one main deity and four sub deities. So this Sarang Tila complex is also constructed in the same way, and it has evidences related to marketplace, residential area, water management structures, and all. So like I mentioned before, all these are indicating a strong urban planning existed in this region once upon a time. And the next major significance of this region is the nature plus cultural heritage. So no doubt this is located on the bank of Mahanadi. It was a point of contact and trade once upon a time, and the excavations in this region revealed a strong religious coexistence and cultural harmony in this region, plus the presence of the river. So the river, all these cultural elements plus the presence of the river will give a sacred nature plus cultural heritage to this region. And coming to the government plan for the UNESCO nomination and tourism upgrade. So what are the plans the government has present to develop this region? First is the reorganization of the Sirpur into 4 thematic clusters based on Buddhism, Hindu temple, civic administration, and riverine sacred. And the second, building facilities for the visitors that includes battery operated cars for the elderly population and the people with disabilities, drinking water facilities for safe drinking water for the people, rest areas, signage in Hindi, English, and Chhattisgarh language, and also QR based digital services for booking tickets, and also other to make the complex more inclusive. And coming to the heritage management, so like I mentioned before, the monuments located in Sirpur are very old, so they are very weak too. So to protect the monuments, the Archaeological Survey of India is planning to acquire nearly 30 hectares of land around the monuments to create buffer zone, accessible road, and also conservation infrastructure. And the government also has plans for developing digital facilities in this region for digital exhibition, 3D reconstruction, to tell the story of this great urban center. So if there's a 3D reconstruction, then it will be understandable for all the culture and people with a different culture, language background. And we can see that in many government museums and such areas, now we have the AR and VR, that is artificial reality and virtual reality, to tell the story. So like that, the similar technology is planning to implement in the Sirpur also. So coming to the UNESCO World Heritage Tag. So it's a special tag or a recognition provided by the UNESCO to places that have outstanding universal value of humanity. So definitely the Sirpur also has a great universal value of humanity, because once it was an important trading center, once it was a point of cultural heritage and exchange of cultural values. And we can see from the excavations, we found that there was a strong religious harmony and religious coexistence was there once in this region. So all this, from all this we can say that this Sirpur also has a great place it has an outstanding universal value of humanity. And coming to the benefit of getting the World Heritage Tag. So why the government is working on to get this World Heritage Tag by the provided by the UNESCO. So first, it will boost the global visibility and tourism in the Sirpur, and it helps in better conservation and it will also provide more conservation fund. And next, it will enhance the national and global pride of India and the great cultural heritage. And the next objective is promoting research, documentation, and cultural heritage. Sorry, cultural exchange. So we can see that once we can promote the Sirpur, once again we are reviving the Sirpur like it existed in the ancient time. It will become a point of contact of different cultures. So coming to the prelims practice question, the question is, consider the following statements regarding Sirpur archaeological site. Statement 1, Sirpur was an important center of Buddhism during the reign of Somavamshi kings. Statement 2, the archaeological remains at Sirpur include Buddhist viharas, Shiva, Vaishnava temples, and a 6th century marketplace. Statement 3, Sirpur is located on the bank of Mahanadi and finds mention in the travel of Huangsang. And statement 4, Sirpur has already been inscribed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Which of the above statements is or are correct? Option A, 1, 2, and 3 only. Option B, 2 and 4 only. Option C, 1 and 3 only. And option D, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So from our discussion, we can see that the statement 4 is incorrect because currently the government is working on to get the UNESCO World Heritage tag. So if we can eliminate the statement 4, then we can eliminate the option B and D. So coming to the Sirpur is located on the bank of Mahanadi and finds mention in travels of Huangsang. Yes, Huangsang, who visited the Indian subcontinent in the 7th century CE, he also mentions about the Sirpur. So the statement 3 is correct. Statement 1 we already discussed, it is correct. Statement 2, it provides evidences regarding Buddhist vihara, Shaiva and Vaishnava temples, and also a 6th century marketplace. So all the 3 statements are correct. So the correct answer is option A, 1, 2, and 3 only. So with this, we will move to the next article. India posts a 6-quarter high GDP growth of 8.2%. The article is taken from The Hindu. So we know that now in the second quarter of the financial year 2026, the GDP of India is standing at 8.2%. So we'll be discussing what is the reason behind this growth, and also we'll be discussing the difference of opinion regarding the growth, and finally we'll be also seeing the criticism from the opposition. But before getting into the discussion, we have to understand certain key concepts related to GDP. So we have studied about the GDP in the second chapter of the economics 11th standard, national income accounting. So what is GDP? Gross domestic product, the total money value of goods and services produced in a particular economy in a particular period of time. And associated with the GDP, we have studied all these concepts. For example, real GDP, which means nominal GDP minus inflation effect. GDP deflator, it is an equation that we are using to get the real GDP from the nominal GDP. And low deflator, we will discuss now how the low deflator will affect the calculation of real GDP. We will discuss. So imagine first we will discuss the real GDP. So imagine that in the financial year 2024, in an economy, a nation produced 10 pen at the price of 10 rupees. So the total quantity or the total value is standing at 100, right? Very next year, that is in 2025, the country produced the same quantity of pen, that is 10, but now the price is slightly higher, that is 12. So what will be the value? It will become 120. Is there any change in the total quantity of production? No, but the price got increased. That is because of inflation. So here comes the role of GDP deflator. So this is a nominal GDP. So if we minus the inflation from this nominal GDP, then we will reach the real GDP. So we will be minus, we'll be really, will be reducing the inflation from this value, that is 20. So there is a 20% or 20 rupees inflation. So if you remove the 20%, 20 rupees, then the actual growth is standing at 100. So this is a real GDP. So there is no change in the financial year 2024 and 25. There is a value, there is an increase in the value in 2025. That is because of the inflation effect. So I hope now you understood what is the difference between real GDP and nominal GDP, and how the GDP deflator is applied to get the real GDP. So what happens if the GDP deflator is very low? If the deflator is saying that there is only 1% inflation in the economy. So if instead of applying the 12, we are applying 11. So what happens? Eventually, the calculation will reach 110. So actually, the total quantity of production is still 10 pen, but the growth is showing 110. That is because while calculating the real GDP, the calculating institution, whether it will be government or any institution, they applied only low deflator, and that is why instead of 100, it is showing 110 in the financial year 2025. So this is how the GDP deflator is working while calculating to reach the real GDP. So once again, I will repeat, in the year 2024, the total quantity of production was 10 pen at the price of 10 per unit. So the total value was 100. In the financial year 2025, again the nation produced only 10 pen, but the price became 12. that is because of inflation. So to get the real GDP, we have to remove the 20, that is the inflated rate. So we have to remove the 20, so we will reach the real GDP, that is 100. But if we apply low GDP deflator, that means instead of removing the 20, we are only removing 10, then what happens? The quantity of production is same, but the value will become 110. So if you apply the low deflator, then it will artificially make the real GDP look bigger or higher. And now we will understand an overall view about the present news regarding the growth in the second quarter. So we can see that in the second quarter of the financial year 2026, the growth of rate is standing at 8.2 percentage, and comparing with the same quarter of financial year 2025, it is much higher. That is, in the second quarter of the financial year 2025, it was 5.6 percentage, and if you take the first quarter, the first quarter of the 2026, it is 7.8 percentage. So it is comparing with the growth rate of the first quarter, the second quarter witnessed a faster growth, and comparing with the second quarter of the financial year 2025, the second quarter of the financial year 2026 witnessed a higher growth, a much higher growth. So, and we can see that if you take the growth of the first half of the 2026 financial year, it is standing at 8 percentage, and the growth is mainly driven by the growth in the sectors of manufacturing and service. And coming to the government and economic perspective regarding the GDP growth, so we can see that the government, according to the government, the growth is a result of growth reflecting reforms and pro-growth policies. While economists, they are saying that the real GDP is strong because of low deflator. So like I mentioned, the in an economy, if we while calculating the GDP, if we automatically reduce or if we lower the deflator, then the real GDP will look artificially, it will look bigger or higher. And the nominal growth is only 8.7 percentage, indicating a weak underlying economic activity. And the nominal growth may affect fiscal deficit target of limiting the inflation, limiting the deficit by 4.4 percentage. So these are the major concerns or the points from the economist. And coming to the sectoral growth performance, we can see that the manufacturing sector witnessed an overall growth of 9.1 percentage, which is higher in the last 6 quarters. And this huge growth in the manufacturing sector is because of low base effect. That means last base effect means, for example, imagine that the last year in the same time the growth was 2 percentage, 2.1 percentage, and this year it became 9.1 percentage. This time the growth will be looking higher or bigger. That is because of the low base effect. That means a low performance or a weak performance in the last quarter, and a slight improvement in the present quarter will make the slight improvement look much bigger. And coming to the service sector, the overall growth is standing at 9.2 percentage, with the financial, real estate, and professional services rose by 10.2 percentage which is higher comparing with the last 9 quarters. And the sectors like public administration, defense, and other sectors grew by 9.7 percentage. And coming to the case of agriculture, there we have a small concern. The growth is 3.5 percentage, which is lower than the second quarter of the financial year 2025. So coming to the key concerns. So the first concern, as we discussed before, it is associated with the low GDP deflator. So while calculating the real GDP, the data used or the institution used a low GDP deflator, which is contrasting with the household inflation that is India is experiencing currently in the economy. So we can see that currently the household inflation is somewhere standing above 3 percentage. While calculating the GDP deflator is 0.5 percentage. So there is a strong contrast between these two data. And the next concern is associated with the weak gross fixed capital formation. So now the revenue based growth will not be sustainable, but a capital based formation will be sustainable. So here we can see that without sufficient income, the economy cannot run sustainable in healthy for a long time. And the next concern is associated with the tax buoyancy. So we can see that the low nominal GDP may lower the tax buoyancy. So what is a nominal GDP right now? It is 8.7 percentage. So what is mean by 8.7 percentage? So we discussed already, according to the economist, the 8.7 percentage means it's a low nominal GDP. So through this low nominal GDP, the data is indirectly saying that currently the economy is experiencing low inflation. So if the the economy is experiencing low inflation, that means there is less money supply. If there is less money supply, means the institutions and companies in the economy did not generate much profit. If there is if there is no much profit, then it will slow down the tax collection. So the low nominal GDP may lower the tax buoyancy. And the next concern is associated with the rating from the IMF regarding the data collection. So the IMF is categorizing the Indian data collection as C. So this category C is it is also used by the opposition to criticize the data collection for the GDP. So what is category C according to IMF? So according to this category C, the data collection is not much bad, but there is a lot of space for the improvement. And you can see that the opposition also claimed that the growth overstated due to unrealistically low GDP deflator. So like I already discussed, the household inflation in India is currently standing around 3% or above, but the GDP deflator is 0.5%. There's a strong contrast. And we can see that due to the weak gross capital formation, fixed capital formation, the sustainability of this high growth is also a big question mark, and that is also raised by the opposition. So coming to the prelims practice question, the question is, consider the following statements. Statement 1, a low GDP deflator increases the real GDP growth rate even if nominal GDP growth remains subdued. Statement 2, the IMF's C rating of India's national account means India is not compliant with the global statistical dissemination standards. Which of the above statements is or are correct? Option A 1 only, option B 2 only, option C both 1 and 2, and option D neither 1 nor 2. So from our discussion we can see that even if the nominal GDP rate is low, if the GDP deflator is low, then the real GDP will appear bigger or higher. So therefore the statement 1 is correct, while the statement 2, the IMF's C rating of India's national account means India is not compliant with the global statistical dissemination standards. No, that doesn't mean that India is not compliant with the global statistical dissemination standards. It means that there is a lot of room for improvement, and also we can see that the Indian economy is remaining as same for a long time. So the statement 2 is incorrect, while the statement 1 is correct. So the correct answer will be option A 1 only. With this, we will move to the next article. Time to revisit lessons from Drive Against TB, Polio, HIV. The article is taken from Indian Express. So we know that this year, November 18 to 24 is observed as World Antimicrobial Awareness Week, and as a part of the Antimicrobial Awareness Week, the Government of India launched the National Action Plan 2.0 to fight the antimicrobial resistance. And before that, one more thing, what is the theme for this year's World Antimicrobial Awareness Week? Any idea? Act now, protect the present, and secure the future. So we know that according to WHO, World Health Organization, this antimicrobial resistance is considered as one of the major or top global health threat of this 21st century. So what is antimicrobial resistance? Resistance of the causative agent or the microbes. So the medicines that we used to treat such infection are no longer effective because of their resistance. How it is becoming a public health concern? Because it has a severe impact not just on the health sector, but also on the society, on the economy, and also on the life of the individuals. So we can see that the major reasons behind the antimicrobial resistance are overuse, misuse, and premature discontinuation of the medicine. And what happens due to the overuse? Because of the continuous usage of the antibiotics or misuse of the antibiotics. For example, in the poultry farm, the farmers will use certain medicines like penicillin and amoxicillin to to promote the growth and to fight infection. So such misuse of the the antibiotics or premature discontinuation. Sometimes when we get an infection, the doctor will ask you to take the medicine for the next 3 weeks, but we will stop after 1 week of medication. So premature discontinuation will also make the microbe resistant or immune to medicine. So this antimicrobial resistance, because of it, the treatment cost, the intensity of the treatment, everything will increase. And also, if the infection is very severe, it will also increase the mortality rate in the society. And we can see that in the case of typhoid, in the case of Mycobacterium tuberculosis, that is tuberculosis, TB, the biggest challenge is the treating all of this infection. The biggest challenge is the antimicrobial resistance. So estimations are showing that the typhoid causing bacteria, it is started showing in resistance to medicines since 1950s itself. And in the case of tuberculosis, we have done a video on tuberculosis, because we can see that recently a study published by the World TB report, published by the World Health Organization, found that in a span of 1 decade, India reduced 21% of TB cases. So we discussed an article on that. So please go and watch that article, and it is available on our channel. So through that, and in that video we discussed what are the different types of resistance also. So treating such infection, the biggest challenge is the resistance from the causative agent. And you can see that, like I mentioned, it will increase the duration of the treatment, intensity of the treatment. Also, the cost will also go high. And if the infection is very severe, then the mortality rate will also increase. And the biggest burden of this antimicrobial resistance are faced by low and middle income countries, including India. And coming to the National Action Plan 2.0. So we can see that this National Action Plan 2.0 is giving more importance to community-led initiatives and interventions to fight the antimicrobial resistance. And coming to the the National Action Plan 2017. See, actually this plan was launched in the year 2017 to fight the the antimicrobial resistance. So what are the pillars of this National Action Plan 2017? First is strengthening AMR surveillance network. And second, regulatory step to curb irrational antibiotic use, that is misuse, overuse of the antibiotics. Ban on antimicrobials as a poultry growth promoter. So like I mentioned before, certain medicines like penicillin and amoxicillin are used by the poultry farmers to increase the growth and fight infection. And the next is a national essential diagnostics list. This is a list of minimum diagnostics that should be present in every level of the health sector, for example in primary, in secondary and in tertiary level. So this is a list of diagnostics that should be present in every strata of the health sector. And infection control via Kayagal and clean hospital mission. So this is focusing on sanitation. Sanitation is an important step towards preventing the infection. And the setting standard for antimicrobial use in the food chain. And the next is why community ownership matters. So what is the importance of community-led initiative in fighting the antimicrobial resistance? So like I mentioned before, this antimicrobial resistance is considered as a major public health threat. So here comes the question, why this antimicrobial resistance is considered as a shared social challenge. Imagine a situation that we are all living in a neighborhood and one person got TB, tuberculosis, and that is caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis. And a doctor asked that person to take medicine. Imagine that the name of the person is A. Doctor asked this person to take medicine for 3 months. This person took medicine for 1 month and he found some relief. That means now he is thinking that okay, he's totally recovered from this condition. So he decided to stop the medicine. That is premature discontinuation. And what happens? He will go to the neighborhood. He will come to our houses and he will spread the infection to all of us. And after 2 weeks, of stopping the medicine, once again the symptoms will reappear. So again he will start medicine. But in the gap of this 2 weeks, or this is just hypothetical, or in the meantime, the virus, or the bacterium will be immune to the medicine. So now he has to increase the treatment. He has to increase the duration of the treatment. And now he has to take more medicine and other he has to try other antibiotics also to deal with this problem. So the severity, the intensity and the duration of the treatment is increasing. And after 2 weeks, a person B will also show the severe similar symptoms of this TB. And what is the challenge here is, now the B, he also has to take the same amount of treatment like A. So the major reason behind the development of this resistance is the premature discontinuation of medicine from the person A. So this is how the antimicrobial resistance is becoming a major social challenge. And here comes the the importance of behavioral change. So the plan is on one side, but the reality is very different. So for that we need a behavioral change from the grassroots level. That includes seeking medical advice before taking antibiotics, completing the full treatment course. That means say no to premature discontinuation of antibiotics, avoid over-the-counter or leftover antibiotics. So that means strong community participation will lead to hallmark global successful national action plans against the antimicrobial resistance. And reducing infection burden through citizen action. That means if we can contain the infection, then lower antibiotic consumption is needed. That means slower resistance of antibiotics. If the infections are very less, then we need to, or if the infection is very few and weak, then there is only need for less antibiotic consumption. If there is a less antibiotic consumption or balanced antibiotic consumption, then there is a possibility for slow resistance only. And the community-led actions can be also taken to fight the antibiotic resistance. That includes campaigns on hand washing in the school level, improved sanitation and waste management in the neighborhood, safe handling of food, and vaccination drives and clean water initiatives to prevent the infection. And this will help to compensate. So why we are stressing on community-led initiative? First of all, the behavioral change is needed, and another thing is in the case of India, we are a large nation with a huge population. Therefore, to compensate the weak regulatory enforcement, we need a strong community-led intervention to fight the antimicrobial resistance. So coming to the global evidence of citizen engagement. So if you take certain countries like Thailand, where the community-driven education campaign helped to reduce the demand for unnecessary antibiotics, and in the case of United Kingdom, the social marketing helped to reduce the demand for unnecessary antibiotics. And so this is showing that a strong behavioral change plus strong awareness will lead to more effective AMR control. And in the case of India, we have a lot of stories talking about our success in the public health. For example, the eradication of polio, the biggest success of India in the public health. So in the recent times, like I mentioned before, the TB report published by the World Health Organization also found that India successfully reduced the TB incidence by 21% in a span of 10 years. And this polio eradication, we eradicated the polio in 2014, and this was a major success and a great story for India, because the community leaders and the mothers, they played a crucial role in overcoming the vaccine hesitancy. And in the case of HIV and AIDS, we have community-led counseling and awareness campaigns, which plays a crucial role in improving the quality of life for the people with HIV. And the TB survivors network. So we can see that even today, as a part of the national TB elimination program, we have the Nikshay Mitras. They are the volunteers working from the grassroots level to eliminate the TB. And in Kerala, in many states, they have different collectives. For example, in the case of Kerala, they have the Kudumbashree. It's a women's collective, working to bring behavioral change in the neighborhood. And coming to the mains practice question, the question is, India's experience with TB, polio and HIV campaigns highlights the centrality of community participation in public health programs. In this context, critically analyze the role of citizen ownership in addressing antimicrobial resistance within framework of National Action Plan 2.0. So it's a 15 marks question, and you have to write around 250 words, write the answer and post it in the comment section. We will review and we will reply for your answer. Now it's time to move to the next article. So coming to the prelims focus, the first topic is International IDEA. So we know that International IDEA is an intergovernmental organization working to support the sustainability of democracy across the world. And this intergovernmental organization's headquarters is located in Stockholm in Sweden, and nearly 35 countries are a part of the intergovernmental organization. And why it is in the news? Because India is going to chair the International IDEA in 2026, and we are planning to work the organization. Usually it will work with the local communities, democratic practitioners, and the partner organizations to ensure the sustainability of democracy across the world. And the next topic, third CAPA joint committee meeting. So CAPA means Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. The third meeting of the joint committee meeting was organized between India and the United Arab Emirates, because in 2024-2025 the trade between India and the UAE crossed $100 billion. That is around an increase of 19.6%. And the meeting was held in the national capital of India, that is Delhi. And in this meeting, we had a comprehensive review on market access issues, data sharing, allocation of gold, anti-dumping matters, services, rules of origin, and BIS, Bureau of Indian Standards licensing, etc. So, the objective is nothing, reducing or eliminating the hurdles and strengthening the trade further. And the next topic, textile focused research, assessment, monitoring, planning and startup, that is TEX ramp scheme. So this was launched by the Ministry of Textiles to strengthen research, innovation and competitiveness in textile sector. The key components of the scheme are research and innovation, data analytics and diagnostics, integrated textile statistical system, to bring the data under one umbrella, capacity development and knowledge ecosystem, startup and creating a startup and innovation environment. And the expected outcome of this scheme are going to be enhancing India's competitiveness in the global textile market, strengthening the research and innovation ecosystem in India, improving data-driven policy. That is why we are bringing the data regarding the textile sector in one platform, creating employment opportunities, and fostering deeper collaboration between states, industries, academy, and government institutions. So, coming to the prelims practice question, the question is why is the TextRAM scheme consider a structural reform rather than a financial support scheme for the textile sector? Option A, because it focuses on innovation ecosystem, research infrastructure, and a real-time data system instead of direct subsidies. Option B, because it replaces all existing textile scheme with a single comprehensive subsidy mechanism. Option C, because it mandates compulsory adoption of smart textile in all export unit. And option D, because it transfer textile regulation power from center to state. So from the four options, we can see that the best option is option A, because it is focusing on innovation ecosystem, research infrastructure, and the data-driven policy making. So the the option A is the correct answer. With this, we are coming to the end of the prelims focus. With this, we are coming to the conclusion for today's current affair analysis. If you like the video, hit the like button, give your feedbacks as comments, and share this content with your friends. Before leaving this channel, don't forget to subscribe and also hit the bell icon to receive on-time updates from the academy. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for listening to me. Have a nice day.